Today I'm going to show you how to install an HDMI capture hat on a Raspberry Pi to create an affordable, portable streaming solution. With this you can stream or record footage from a game console or other video device. I personally use the same device to record footage for my YouTube videos and I find it incredibly useful. So let's get started. Video streaming usually consists of at least a video device such as a gaming console, a monitor or a TV to see the output, and a recording or streaming device to capture the video. If you are recording YouTube videos, you may forego the monitor and replace the gaming console with a camera. Often, you will want to combine other inputs as well, like combining your webcam footage in one corner of the video or adding an audio source from an extra microphone. This is done with software after the video capture, and I will go over how to do this later in the video. For this project, I'm going to use a Raspberry Pi 5 and this Geekworm HDMI capture hat. This will work for Pi 4 and Pi 5, though there are a few limitations that I will get to later, but for this video I will be using a Pi 5. So the HDMI capture hat has an HDMI input and a low latency HDMI output. The hat takes the HDMI input and passes it to the Pi using the CSI2 port, just like a standard Pi camera. The HDMI output can be passed to a monitor or a TV so that you can see what is being recorded in real time. This seemed like a great way to record quality video on my Pi, so I bought this hat thinking it was going to be a simple project. But as I started working on this, I found the documentation to be missing a lot of important information, and I discovered a few limitations on the Pi that made getting this working as intended even more challenging. The HDMI signal carries audio and video, but CSI2 only carries video, so the audio and video get split and must be resynchronized later. I found that the provided documentation discussed setting up the video, but failed to mention the audio. The documentation also failed to mention the limited processing power of a Pi would make it difficult to stream or record video at the resolution that the hat claims to support. So I spent a fair amount of time figuring out solutions and writing some custom code to get the most out of this device, and I think it turned out quite well. Installing the hat was quite easy. The kit comes with the standoffs and screws for mounting the hat, and the hat just fits on the GPIO pins like any other hat. This kit also comes with the CSI2 cables for the Pi 4 and Pi 5 with spares, which is nice. The Pi 5 has two CSI ports. Be sure to use the first port as the driver will not talk to the second port. Setting up the Pi OS to talk to this hat was also quite easy, as this was well documented. It requires loading the driver at boot, adding this hat as an input in the media graph, and sending an EDID file to the video device so that it will be configured to use the same resolution that the hat is expecting. I codified this process into a set of scripts in my Pi setup repo. Simply clone the repo and navigate to the X1301 folder. Then just run sudo setup.sh. Once you reboot the Pi, it should be ready to go. I should point out that there is still one issue with this process. The hat expects the video device to be connected when the Pi boots up. This is because the startup script will send the EDID file to the device at boot. If the device is not connected, it will not receive the EDID file and you may use a different resolution than the hat is expecting. If you don't want to restart your Pi, you can simply run sudo systemcontrol restart tc358743-init. This will resend the EDID file. Unfortunately, this is not easy to automate as the hat does not send any notifications about devices being connected or disconnected. If you know of a better way to handle this, let me know in the comments. With the hat set up, let's talk about some of the software that you may want to use. If you've done any streaming before, you are probably familiar with OBS Studio. It is a full-featured open source video streaming software package that can do a lot more than just stream video. You can combine different video and audio sources, apply filters, and adjust mixing settings. If you want to do further video processing by running your footage through a video editor first, OBS can simply record the video to disk. It also comes with a handy WebSocket server so that you can control OBS remotely. In a previous video, I was able to record footage on a Raspberry Pi using a cheap HDMI to USB dongle and OBS. This was possible only because the dongle was limited to 1080p at 30 frames per second and the footage was already highly compressed, which introduced a lot of visual artifacts. This Pi hat, on the other hand, outputs uncompressed 1080p footage at 60 frames per second. The same simple setup won't work this time. Running OBS on my Pi 5 will use up about 40% of the CPU by itself. This is without running any video encoding, streaming, or recording. Just having the app open and displaying the preview window is taxing for a Pi. If I try to start recording, you can see in the bottom corner, the frame rate drops from 60 frames a second to around 12 frames per second. And if you look at the performance, you can see the CPU is now pegged at nearly 100%. So this setup is clearly too demanding for a Pi 5. To better use the limited resources of the Pi, you may consider using command line tools like FFmpeg to handle the encoding without needing a bulky UI like OBS. Unfortunately, as a command line tool, it is more suited to expert users. Many tools, including OBS, use FFmpeg under the hood, so if we use FFmpeg directly, we still get access to the same powerful video encoder. You can get the best of both worlds by offloading some of the video encoding to a remote machine. A Pi doesn't have much power, but a Pi will be just fine if all it is doing is passing the data over the network. In my case, I am streaming footage from my Pi to a desktop computer running OBS, where OBS is doing the encoding and recording the video to disk. To make things easier for using a Pi, I wrote a piece of software that I call PiStreamer. It is a very lightweight application for handling the FFmpeg commands for streaming footage on a Pi to OBS on a remote machine. So once you get PiStreamer installed, you should have an option in the Start menu under Sound and Video. You can open up PiStreamer. You'll notice that there are two sections here. There's a video sources and an audio sources. This is because the video and the audio are separated out from the HDMI input and they must be recombined. So we'll send both sources to the remote machine and have them recombined by OBS. So first, let's add a video source. So we click add. This is going to be for our HDMI. So call it HDMI. The default device, dev video 0, is correct. As far as formats, we want the 24-bit RGB 888. It does report a number of different formats, but for my testing, the 24-bit RGB is the only one that actually works. So we'll be using that one. The resolution is correct. We want 1080p. This is the maximum resolution of the hat. And we want to do it at 60 frames a second. So all this looks good. We go over to the encoder. We want to use the libx264. This is the software encoder. A Raspberry Pi 5 does not have a hardware video encoder, so we'll be using the software video encoder. The CRF value determines what level of compression we're going to use. It's any value between 0 and 23. We're going to use 18 here. That's what I like to use. It's a good balance and it's considered virtually lossless, so it'll get good quality video with high compression. Finally, we have to set the output. So this is the address of our remote machine. We're going to be using the UDP protocol. And the address is 192.168.0.199. And then we have to pick a port. So I'm going to pick port 5000. As long as it's a free and open port, it should work. So we're going to go with that and hit save. Now we have to add our audio source. So this is for the HDMI. The TC358743 is the correct audio source we want to use. The defaults for format and encoder should be acceptable. We have to change the address and port. It's 192.168.0.199. And we have to pick a different port number. So I'm going to pick 5002. Hit save. If you want to add an extra camera for OBS or any other video recording, we can add extra video sources here. So we can click add. I'm going to add camera and As far as device, we can select a different device. I'm going to go with my webcam. It outputs motion JPEG and YUYV format. We're going to go with the motion JPEG. It's already pre-compressed, so that's going to save some processing time. Since this is just going to be a small corner of the screen, we don't need the full 1080p resolution. So I'm going to do 720 by 480. And I don't need a full 60 frames a second. I'm going to do 30 frames a second, so that will save some bandwidth. As far as the encoder, we don't need the software encoder. Instead, I'm going to use the copy encoder. And all this is going to do is send the data without doing any encoding, so it will have the lowest overhead. And then as far as the output, I'm going to use the SRT protocol instead of UDP. SRT : the same address, 192.168.0.199. Going to change the port and choose 5005, just another free port. We also have to have this tag on the end for SRT format. Mode equals color, and we hit save. Now if we go over to OBS, so the first thing we need to do in OBS is create a new scene. If you haven't done so already, click the plus sign, but I'm going to use this demo scene. So in the sources list, first we have to click the little plus sign, go up to media sources. For this, I'm going to call it HDMI video. So what you have to do is uncheck local file, then as input, UDP : // In this case, we can just use the @ sign to indicate that any address would be acceptable because we know it's going to be on this machine, and then enter the port. So port 5000. This will be our main video source. We have to do that again. Go down to media source. This time HDMI audio. Click OK. Uncheck local file. Enter in UDP : / @5002. This will get our audio source. Click OK. And once more. So media source, this will be our camera. And again, uncheck local file. We again have to do SRT : @ @5005. Do the tag. Mode equals listener. And hit OK. So now if we go back over to the Pi, we can just hit the start button and everything should start. You should see the bit rates starting to populate, and the HDMI frame rate should jump up to about 60 frames a second. Going back to OBS, it should start populating. It might take a few seconds, but first we got our lower corner. We can just drag that to wherever we want. I might want to resize it a little bit. And there you go. So if you played this game before, you might realize that these flowers are appearing blue when they should be red. This is an issue with this hat that is not well documented. So even though we explicitly requested RGB format, it is outputting data in BGR format instead. This can be an easy fix. How you would fix this is you would select your video and then you hit filters, go into the effects, add an effect, select applied LUT. I'm going to call this invert color. Click OK. Then I have a color map that will invert the colors. So now we have the correct red flowers. And then we can close, and now it's going to generate the correct footage. So the last thing we have to do is synchronize the audio and the video. So we already have the video coming in, and you can see down here we also have the audio coming in as well, but they're not necessarily synced up in time. So how you fix this is you go down here, little gears icon, You click this, and now you have your media sources right here and your HDMI audio. You can now adjust this. This will be your sync offset. For me, I know it's about 170 milliseconds. This may be different for your audio sources, so it may require a little trial and error, but 170 seems to work for me. Click OK, and we're good to go. For audio syncing, I like to use the clicking sound for moving through a game menu. Here's some video before sync offset adjustments. It feels very close, but not quite as responsive as it could be. Here's some footage after the 170 millisecond offset adjustment. It is a minor change, but this feels more responsive to me. What do you think? Now that we have a fully working Pi for streaming, as a finishing touch, I want to put it in a case. Unfortunately, with such an uncommon hat, there are not a lot of case options. The only one that I found was made by the company that makes this hat. It is made out of metal and it only supports the Pi 5. So I designed a case in Onshape to be 3D printable. It has cutouts for the HDMI capture hat and it supports Pi 4s and Pi 5s. I even engineered a power button in the back for the Pi 5 version. I released the design on printables.com if you want to try it out. I hope you enjoyed this video. I released all the CAD and code for this project and added links in the description. If you have any thoughts about how I can improve my setup, let me know in the comments. If you like this video, please give me a like. And don't forget to subscribe for future content. Thanks for watching.